Just, don't do it again.
Wait a minute. Wait, they lied to you. Now, they
Hello,
want you
Alex?
brought in. They
We
want
might
you
have a
dead.
problem. Probably nothing to worry
They were
about.
willing
But
to turn me into a murderer.
did the train stop?
What am
Stopped,
I
didn't it?
feeling?
Yeah, what happened?
It's jammed. When the Combine shut down the quarantine zone, they must have tightened security.
What's wrong with
Which
me?
means?
Nothing.
Yeah, you're nowhere near
You're normal.
Fairview Junction. You're just outside the QZ.
Clean.
And this
Clean?
is as far as we get by train.
No, that's
And
dangerous.
I'm headed on foot.
Not really.
Good.
Yeah, sure it is.
If
Sure
I
it
can
is.
get you in
People
some other
die
way.
without the prescriptions. I need medicine. I'm
I
scared.
got a dead zombie here. I thought the Combine sealed up the QZ.
I'm actually scared.
Oh, this one must have squirted out. I've heard they've had trouble with barnacle spores outside the containment area.
Squirted.
Probably not a one-off then.
When you're clean,
I
does
doubt
everything
it.
feel so real?
Welcome to
Would you look at that?
Passion, rage.
And if there's resin around here,
All nine
it should be a
yards.
Combine
And
fabricator.
you know what?
Keep an eye out. We might be able to
Some
upgrade your
things are
firepower a
actually
bit.
funny.
Welcome to Half-Life Alyx Part 2 by Haley Cryokeen, no longer intoxicated by alcohol, but only by marijuana and the antidepressant that I take.
Even in our earliest experiments in bringing Half-Life to VR, we found that players enjoyed exploring every nook and cranny of the environment. With the increased fidelity of VR, players not only expected to be able to manage a vast array of objects, but they also had a strong desire to find something useful from time to time.
Work with us.
This was so universal among testers that in addition to more searchable locations and interactive objects, we added a new resource, resin. Level designers could place this new resource in fun and interesting locations that were tied to game progression, rewarding players.
Internally, we refer to this type of puzzle as a toner puzzle.
This is
due to
the
its
murder,
similarity to a
the
real-world
maggot.
cable toner tool that can be
Hate
used
doing
to
that.
locate electrical wires in walls. The toner mechanic was conceived
Maybe
as
you
a
should
tool
try
for
Neil.
designers to craft player experiences
No, not this.
around knowing that the player had to put
This.
their head and hands in specific locations.
What's wrong with it?
The initial design merely required the player to use their
Distracting
muscles
even
to
for
push
me,
a
I'm
band
sorry.
along a path, similar to a
if I
child's
wasn't so
From our
content.
earliest experiments in VR, we realized how
That's
critical
it.
high
That's
quality,
it, don't you
high
see?
density lighting
We're
is to
not the
convey
same
a sense of
people we
realism.
used to be.
In game development, any technology choice involves
We're
trade-offs
better
between
off this
quality,
way.
Oh,
performance,
We're much
and
happier.
development time. For Half-Life Alyx, we chose
Yeah,
high quality, high
But I think
performance.
life should be about more than
How'd you get my
happiness.
dad, anyway? You guys work together at Black Mesa, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Tricky place to get a job at, actually. I interviewed at Black Mesa.
We
They
got a
tried
lot of
getting
positive
me,
feedback from our initial experiments requiring players to perform a series of physical actions to reload the pistol.
oh yeah. I redid this part, so that's why I don't have the gnome. I'm sorry. I ended up dropping the gnome in a bit anyway.
And chambering around. Players enjoyed
On the last playthrough that you did not see, because I deleted it because I was way too drunk. So I just deleted it. But part 3 and 4 and 5 are me a little drunk, but not as extreme.
was more interesting.
And I actually know what I'm doing, and I'm doing it fast.
In fact, it was more
Mostly.
interesting precisely
Okay.
because it was more mentally
What the hell happened to
Ah,
you?
shit.
Players would frequently mix up the buttons under pressure.
Yes,
In the
pressure.
early stages of the game, players would be fumbling for clips, ejecting the clips when they're meant to be chambering around, and generally
Sure you don't want me
making
to
a
go?
mess.
See to your other duties, Greg.
To those of us observing the playtest, this looked like things had gone horribly wrong, but players themselves consistently cited this as a high point of their playthroughs. Because of the physical nature of the reload and the skill required, players blamed themselves and not the game for the mistakes made as they were learning the reloading sequence. In this area, we provide a number of static targets in the form of barnacles for players to shoot at their own pace,
Sir, it's Damon.
increasing the
Where are you,
likelihood
Damon?
that they have at least a few
Compound
reloads
4.
under their belt before moving
Mallory
on.
tried to rejoin his friends. I tracked them here. I killed them all, sir.
What's your condition?
Not good, sir. Feverish. Trouble breathing.
That's the control panel.
Hard to
They've
move.
probably scrambled the circuit. But considering no one would be dumb enough to open the hatch, it shouldn't be too hard to
We'll be right
crack.
there.
Should bring troxaprine if I got those symptoms right.
If.
Yeah, we only studied decimide briefly at the academy. It's a drug that's never used. Almost never.
You know, Russell, now that I'm walking into the quarantine zone, it just hit me. I don't know anything about the quarantine zone.
Well, actually, the word quarantine comes from the Italian 40 giorni, which means 40 days. The period that all ships were required to be isolated before crew could go ashore during the Black Death.
Alright. Cool.
In prior Half-Life games, while playing as Gordon, the player saw ALYX use her multi-tool to hack into Combine security systems in order to unlock doors or perform other acts of sabotage. This presented an opportunity for us to represent ALYX's hacking skills through VR-centric minigames. All of our hacking minigame designs were built to leverage the independently tracked head and hand common to today's VR systems.
Oh, come on. Some
We wanted
doctor
to
gave him decimide without even telling him what it would do to him.
I had no choice. I was ordered.
Doctor, stop whining. It's so unbecoming. Damon, what say you and me talk?
All right, it's Troxelprene, all right. Let's go.
Let's turn this down a bit. Visitors.
Players to use both hands simultaneously and move their head to create parallax to understand the spatial relationships within the puzzles. This locker hacking puzzle is based upon one of our earliest prototypes, in which the player was tasked with using a tool in one hand to paint a path on a sphere held by the other hand. There was just something fun and unique about using all of the natural degrees of freedom of both hands to solve a puzzle in VR. In its simplest form, this puzzle solution is straightforward.
Zen.
But the difficulty
Good.
gradually increases throughout the course of the game by introducing static or moving obstacles of various shapes and sizes on the sphere.
The birth of the Zen monsters. Well, I mean, it's just Zen growths, but it's the birth of the cling, cling, clong, 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 guys. Tentacles, I guess is what you call them. I love the responsiveness of the gloves on Half-Life ALYX compared to Boneworks, which I have just played for 1 to 2 hours. That game is not responsive compared to this one.
Hey, Russell. I just found a loose syringe of God
Health
knows what.
injectors.
Is this medicine?
Yeah.
Does it have a skull and crossbones on it?
I don't see one.
Do you hear that?
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's the way we
We
gotta
had to
go.
ensure that players would become proficient at reloading their pistol during the early levels of the game, or later encounters in the game would be overly difficult. The prior map contained only static targets in the form of barnacles. Players could engage the barnacles at their own pace, but there were enough of them that
Not though, obviously, so don't walk under them. Oh, just so you...
Yeah, this shit's like a roller coaster. It's like a thrill. My feet hurt though. I guess that's a good thing, sort of. Ish. I mean, the game forces, but I don't know, maybe not the way. Like, I stand just in one place often because I'm afraid of bumping into my cat, even though he's pretty much outside right now. But I need to let him inside. And hopefully he's okay. And,
Virtual reality provides the opportunity to add physicality to gameplay, but this needs to be balanced against player fatigue and accessibility. For example, we experimented with a low ceiling in this area, requiring players to crouch the whole time that they made their way across the tops of these train cars. Playtesters did not enjoy having to crouch for so long, so we raised the ceiling.
Got it. Yeah, and I'd understand why it would be a narrow space, because it's a train station.
Yeah, be careful.
But you make sacrifices when you're a developer. Now, this shit is scary as fuck. No, I would like that later. Okay, good, okay. Okay. Hi. Hello. I'm Alex Vance. Oh. I don't want to kill my buddy.
The breakable glass panels in Half-Life ALYX are yet one more system designed to convince players that they are present in a living, breathing world. The panels detect the position of an incoming impact and procedurally generate new, smaller glass panels in a radial pattern around the impact position. These new panels can then break into smaller panels themselves, and so on. We found that players would often break glass panels accidentally, then spend time testing just how interactive they really were by trying to break them more, eventually realizing that yes, the glass really did shatter at the appropriate location. At one point, we
Weapon upgrades are a new feature for the Half-Life franchise, and fictionally this mechanic paired well with ALYX's tinkering nature. We approached this design challenge first by thinking about what sort of upgrades could be meaningful and also provide additional value to players without removing established interactions. With limited resin to spend, the upgrade system also provided an avenue for players to personalize and invest in their favorite weapon, or streamline an interaction on another weapon, increasing its value to them. For example, the reflex sight still requires players to physically aim, but it improves the feedback on exactly where their shot will hit, and exposes previously hidden enemy weak points. While some players enjoy...
It only took, how many fucking rounds? I don't know, 40. I don't have enough resin. I need 6 more. I'm getting a little sick of this kill tacalypse. I mean, it's fun sometimes, but then other times it's not so fun. Alright. There you go, player comfort and pacing.
At the beginning of the Half-Life ALYX project, we had the expectation that players would want to take a break after 30 to 45 minutes, since that's what we were seeing with the lab and other small-scale VR experiences available at the time. Because of this, we designed the pacing of the game's levels around play sessions of that duration. Over the course of development, however, the game itself included more downtime between intense combat encounters, and the comfort of the new crop of HMDs improved significantly. In fact, as the game progressed, we found that players were happy to play for hours on end. At the end of the playtest, players would often remark that this was the longest they had ever played VR in a single session.
'Cause it's addictive as fuck. Well, it's fun. But I also feel an obligation to my channel to show this shit. But, I mean, I guess I already have replayed these parts, so I don't necessarily need to replay it. But you're getting the whole PTSD thing. Should you buy Half-Life ALYX? Probably not. I mean, maybe. Sure, if you want full total immersion and being like you're in the Half-Life universe. So, I guess it's worth it. But yeah, I mean, part of it is because I've been smoking weed, and so I guess when you've not been smoking the marijuana, it's probably less realistic. Less realistic.
Heard anything about Dad, Russell?
No. Radio silence since he got on the train.
Damn it.
Well, the good news is he's probably fine.
How do you know that?
Because they're taking him to Nova Prospect to torture him. That's the torture place.
That's
so
the
how they
torture
gonna
place.
him before they get there? That's fine. Not just
This is about the most interesting thing in that room. Let's see, what do we got here? Tank, Colony, Death, Xena, Zelensky. My hands are shaking in the game too. 50 free games. They're kind of neat.
Russell, are you seeing this?
Possibly. Are you seeing floating garbage?
It looks like it's just cardboard.
Right. Well, seems harmless.
Yeah. Weird, though. What Somebody spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah, they did.
There are two layers
It's
to the
my
markings
favorite.
on the walls in this area. The square and dot patterns, that are the functional elements of the environmental puzzle, and the mural representing the Vortigaunt's interpretation of the events of the Half-Life saga. For the first few years of development, this area only contained the dot patterns supporting the perspective puzzle, but as we fleshed out the rest of the level, we found that playtesters responded especially positively to the Vortigaunt's wall markings leading up to the hideout. It was at this point that we realized that this area could serve as a canvas for our Vortigaunt's artistic magnum opus. To do this, we organized the dot patterns into a sort of swirling star field behind the Vortigaunt's art. The imagery itself, which was inspired by petroglyphs and other traditional rock art, portrays many significant events from the Combine invasion, painted hurriedly by the injured Vortigaunt, almost as if he was trying to capture what fleeting memories he still had of the vortessence from which he had been severed. The fact that Vortigaunts have a complicated relationship with time gave us a lot of leeway in terms of drawing this as a strict, linear timeline. For example, you may notice that the Vortigaunt uses contemporary Combine troops as shorthand for Combine invasions from the past, or that the timeline is just generally hazy. A little from the past, a little from the present, and a little looking forward to the future events of Half-Life 2.
There are many musical themes and motifs used throughout the game to represent unspoken aspects of the story and lore. For example, the Vortigaunts play an integral role in the subplot of the game, and we chose to use music to subconsciously communicate the repeating nature of their role both in the timeline of Half-Life ALYX and in the larger timeline of the Half-Life saga. Within the music in this scene, you'll hear variations of themes used throughout the timeline of the game, from the very first sounds of the game up to the finale in the vault. Variations of these motifs represent the imprisoned chanting of the Vortigaunts,
Alex, you alright? What's wrong?
I'm fine, Russell. What's up?
I'm losing your signal. Alex? Alex? Can you still hear me? Keep heading in the same direction and trying to get above
the extraction of their energy to confine the G-Man,
During our earliest attempts to raid ALYX, our instinct was to have her react to absolutely everything. But what we learned from playtesting was that ALYX reacting too much could actually be off-putting. Say a player is in a really tense, zombie-filled level, and they're having a great time, but suddenly ALYX is in their head, sounding angry.
My messages.
I did?
Come. Enter.
Okay. Thanks.
You are welcome.
So, what's a Vortigaunt doing here?
Cooking.
Right, but I mean in general.
I have a brain injury.
Oh, I'm sorry to...
My brain is injured.
That's terrible.
Ow.
And I hope... I'm actually pretty busy looking for my father. Eli
Eli
Vance.
Vance, yes.
The Combine have him, and I really do need to get moving.
The Combine, yes. Do not go yet. I must show you something.
Look, I appreciate
This
it.
way.
I can't stick around.
It is important.
Hi,
I know,
Boots.
I'm sure it is.
The ALYX Vance
Good boy.
must go this way.
This way.
Okay.
For as long as we've been making choreographed scenes like this one, we've found that there are two types of players. Those who become engrossed with the characters, and those who tinker with everything around them, paying little attention to the scene's action.
No.
To make these environments entertaining for the tinkerers, we usually
You're a good
add
boy.
objects for them
You're
to
good.
find and play with.
I love you.
Since this scene is split into two
You
rooms, we were able to add a large number of interactions to this first room for players to discover after the Vortigaunt has moved to the second room.
Oh.
Some interactive objects are pure physically driven toys, like the dangling headcrab corpses and the hanging pans. Others are animations triggered by the player's actions, like the way the caged headcrabs react to the player approaching or shooting them. One type of object on the table is a squeezable headcrab heart,
Yes.
which is a remnant from an old...
All right, let's go. Let's finish the the audio.
This scene where the player would revive a wounded Vortigaunt by squeezing nectar from these hearts.
Whoa.
While that scene didn't work out, we found the experience too compelling and, well, too gross to completely cut from the game.
Thank you for everything, but
That's amazing. Right here.
Was to have her react to absolutely everything. But what we learned from playtesting was that Alex reacting too much could actually be off-putting. Say a...
Oh.
The ALYX fans.
You see my messages.
Come. Enter.
Okay. Thanks.
You are welcome.
So, what's a Vortigaunt doing here?
Those are the hearts.
Right, but I mean in general.
I have a brain injury.
Oh, I'm sorry to...
My brain is injured.
That's terrible, and I hope... Look, I'm actually pretty busy looking for my father. Eli Vance.
Yes.
The Combine have him, and I really do need to get moving.
The Combine. Yes. Do not go yet. I must show you something.
Look, I appreciate it. I can't stick around.
It is important.
I know, I'm sure it is.
The
Alex Vance must go this way. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Oh! So that's what they meant by elements, huh? Hey, you not... Can I die? Yes, you can. It's like a trigger. And you can't die. That's great.
Thing was to have her react to absolutely everything. But what we learned from playtesting is that Alex reacting too much could actually be off-putting. Say a player's in a really tense, zombie-filled level, and they're having a great time, but suddenly Alex is in their head, sounding angry, or frightened, or anxious. These Alex reactions were creating a disconnect between how the player was feeling and how the character they were role-playing as was feeling. So we took a lot of those out. The Alex reactions we left in tended to be the ones that were practically universal. Alex's reaction here to the surreal entrance to the Vort hideout is a good example, where it was just so different from everything the player had seen up until then. It kind of takes you by surprise. We watched so many playtests where the player would see it and say, "Whoa, that's weird." So we had Alex say the same thing a second later, almost like an echo.
And I hope... Look, I'm actually pretty busy looking for my father.
Anyway, we have all the major amenities. Rain slickers, embroidered with the distinctive Chandler logo. Decontamination shower stalls, emergency eye wash,
was to have her react to absolutely everything.
Complimentary
But what we learned from
assortment of
playtesting was that
burn
Alex
ointments.
reacting too much could actually be
Well,
off-putting. Say a
if
player's
you
in
need
a really
anything else
tense,
at all,
zombie-filled
feel free
level,
to just
and
call
they're
the
having a
front
great time. But suddenly Alex
Damn
is
it.
in their head, sounding angry.
Yes, I want to take you off. Where do you go? You're there. Okay. Ding.
That woman should seriously consider decaf.
Oh, well, at least we have a roof over our heads until we slide.
Which is in 12 hours. And just make sure we leave a wake-up call.
I did?
It's too early to crash. I'm gonna head down to the bar. Anybody want to join me?
Yeah, why not? You want to come, bro?
Okay.
Yo,
Thanks.
Farbo. Want to chill with us at the bar? No, I'm quite happy with the
What's
temperature
a
up here.
Vortigaunt doing here?
Chill needs to just hang out.
Right, but I mean
I see.
in general.
No, I think I'll just crash. You know, see what programs are being transmitted tonight.
I'm sorry to...
My brain is injured.
That's terrible, and I hope... Look, I'm actually pretty busy looking for my father.
So chatting with spices.
Eli Vance.
You're gonna get eaten.
the combine has,
cruelty,
and I
the
really
cruelty.
need to get moving.
Yes. Do not go yet. I will
I want to let you out.
Look, I appreciate. I can't.
I
Stick
want to
around.
let you out.
I know. I'm
You're a
saying.
good boy. Bootsy boots. See, the cat's real, and I'm real, but I guess these aren't real. No, they're not real, because they can't think independently. They look kind of real. So, but I think it's important to not be completely numb.
You didn't know me. You didn't know
Yeah,
Remy.
okay. There we go. Okay, so you had to revive a Vortigaunt by squeezing the juices. Okay.
It's okay with me. We won't be home, but we've been to a few that were close enough. Just want you guys to know that.
The compound and others.
You're right,
Drafts coming up.
The ALYX fan. Free them.
I would help. I really would, but the Alex Vance is honestly very busy saving for Dad.
You will not save him.
Hey, were you guys
He
around
is
back
dead.
in '93 when
What?
Santa Monica Bay
Or
caught fire?
he will be.
Is
Getting El Nino
or will be.
pushes in those
It
petrochemicals
is a
right
matter
in
of
off the ocean.
perspective. But Alex Vance alone cannot prevent his fate.
Look,
I'm
thank you
sorry,
for
but you guys aren't oysters in those?
everything, but I really have to go. And I'm sorry, but I really don't have time for riddles.
No riddles. The combat drilled in. I am severed from quintessence. I am alone in my head.
I'm sorry. Look, if I can, if I run across your friends, I will see what I can do.
You have saved my king.
I haven't.
Then you will. Courage, Alex Vance.
The fundamental challenge of any choreographed dramatic scene like this one is making sure that we entertain the player without undermining the delivery of critical gameplay information. In this case, the player needed to leave this scene with the knowledge that the Vortigauns have been imprisoned and that the player should seek the Northern Star. This particular scene went through many different variations during development, from a cooking scene with an extremely traumatized Vortigaunt to this humorous version. We even experimented with an interaction where the player was required to squeeze the nectar of several head crab hearts into the Vortigaunt's mouth to revive him. While this was a memorable and novel VR interaction that ensured the player was engaged with the scene, the interactivity on the player's part often resulted in playtesters remembering the actions they took, but not the critical gameplay information. Eventually, we ended up with this more humorous scene, which struck an effective balance between entertainment and goal delivery.
Okay, see you later in part 3. I will see you later. Sooner. Later.